Welcome to the Telescope Show. We are discovering, wait a minute, we are actually developing a new tagline which will be revealed in episode 100, which is next week.
Woohoo!
But until then, you're going to have to be in suspense. I'm Matthew Seipel-Anderson. With me is my wife, Katie Seipel-Anderson. And we are very pumped to be with you once again. How you doing, Katie?
I'm good. You know why I'm pumped?
Why?
Because the 100th episode is next week, along with our Nerd Trivia Challenge.
Ooh, yeah.
I hope you all are ready for that.
If you're not signed up for the Nerd Trivia Challenge yet, it's not too late. Head over to thetelescopeshow.com. There's a link right there on the home page. Just scroll down a little bit. You'll see it. You can, I shouldn't say a link. It's more like a form. It's a form. You enter your email, your name.
This form sounds really lame.
Go find the form. You can also find a link, that's the word I was looking at on my notes here, in the show notes of this episode, which will whisk you away magically to our website where you can sign up and be part of the cool crowd doing the Nerd Trivia Challenge for episode number 100. And you will have a chance to win an amazing nerdy gift basket bag thing that we have prepared.
We do. Are you going to share anything that's in it? Because we've been talking about it and have bought stuff for it. But we kind of want to keep it a mystery too. But you also want to let people know that it's better than a broken space heater.
Yeah, a broken autograph space heater is the best idea we had as of last week. But this week, oh man, how about later in the show we talk more about it?
Okay, that's cool.
For right now, I think it would be wise to dive into some news. Well, Halo isn't the only video game to get a TV series. Anthony Mackie from Falcon and Winter Soldier, who played Falcon, by the way, is set to star in a live-action series adaptation of the hit video game franchise Twisted Metal. The series will premiere on Paramount Plus. However, we don't know the release date. It's just fresh news, and some of you who remember that game will be very excited. In other news, there was a huge slew of shows hitting the theater over the next year. It's quite amazing, actually.
Yes, if you want to just hermit away and not spend spring and summer enjoying the great outdoors, you probably could do that if you wanted to.
If you never want to see the light of day, if you prefer the cool indoor movie theater air-conditioned environment, yeah, you could be set this year. You could just hang out at the theater all the time or in your basement or whatever. So here's a list of upcoming things, and this is definitely not even exhaustive. Here we go. Picard Season 3, March 3rd. The Batman, March 4th. Moon Knight, March 30th.
Wait. Okay, back up. The Batman again?
Yeah? What about the Batman?
I don't know.
It's not Batman. It's not The Dark Knight. It's The Batman.
Oh, well, then that sounds really cool.
That's
Okay,
totally
we're good. We're good.
Aren't you stoked?
Yes, now I'm excited for it. All right, Moon Knight?
Moon Knight is like this kind of
Batman?
hero, kind of not hero. It's a guy who has sort of a schizophrenia, dissociative personality disorder. So he becomes Moon Knight and becomes these other personalities, and it looks kind of scary.
Okay, so that sounds a lot like what you were telling me about Morbius.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Oh, okay.
They are a little similar, but less vampire-y and more just becoming a weird white guy called Moon Knight.
Oh, okay. Sounds fun.
But they are definitely getting more into the creepy side of the Marvel Cinematic world.
Didn't you say the Batman is going to be a little creepier too? Or at least the previews seem to show it?
It's a little more like a hardcore detective.
Interesting.
Thing. Yeah.
I'm seeing a theme this spring.
Yeah, I don't know. Moon Knight, March 30th. Morbius, April 1st. Fantastic Beasts, The Secrets of Dumbledore.
I'm sorry. The problem with Dumbledore is he sounds like a big bumblebee.
He sounds like Humpty Dumpty.
Kind of like, I picture a big bumblebee, like one of those really big fat bumblebees that are harmless and sweet and they're just kind of bumble around.
And do not have any secrets.
Definitely not. And aren't really fantastic beasts either.
It's a contradiction, but the fans love it. That's April 15th. Doctor Strange, May 6th. Kenobi, which is a show, May 25th. Thor, July 8th. Lord of the Rings on Amazon, not the original, obviously. Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power is the full name of that one. That's September 2nd. The Flash gets his own movie on November 4th.
Is that going to be a movie or a continuation of the series?
A movie.
Oh.
Yeah. A different guy playing the Flash. I think it's going to be the same guy as played the Flash in Justice League, not the guy who played the Flash in the TV series.
Oh.
A couple more. Black Panther hits theaters on November 11th, and Aquaman 2, my favorite, December 16th. And finally, The Mandalorian Season 3, sometime in December, but we don't have a firm release date on that.
Do you think that's going to be... Well, we can't actually think about that yet until next week, which is when we're going to have our predictions.
Oh, man. We'll get into it. So, like Katie just alluded to, our episode number 100 is going to be us just talking about what's coming and making some predictions, maybe saying what we wish would happen, a little fan fiction.
Love it.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. But today, we decided to look into the past a little bit and talk about some things that were originally conceived in the science fiction world and then actually invented in the real world. And that kind of segues into how we as people invent our lives.
Ooh. There are actually some pretty interesting things that were like inspired by sci-fi books way back when. I mean...
Yeah, like 1800s.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. The information we're talking about, we're just going to go over briefly. You can find it in the show notes. There's an article from SmithsonianMagazine.com, or SmithsonianMag.com is actually the actual website, but you can find the link to the article and you can go read the whole thing. So here are a few that we found interesting. First of all, the submarine. 1898, American inventor Simon Lake was inspired by Jules Verne's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and he invented the submarine. And I think it's actually pretty funny that the inventor's name was Lake. His last name was Lake. I mean, it's not super funny. But it's chuckle-worthy.
It's a little funny.
It's a little funny.
Ironic.
Well, H.G. Wells imagined artificial atomic energy that could be a source of unlimited power for the world and eventually lead to world peace. That was in one of his novels.
So wait, you're telling me there's world peace? Because I don't see that right now.
The first part came to be
with the current events that are happening with Russia and Ukraine. I don't think that world peace is actually one of the things that's going on right now.
That part of it's still in the pages of fiction, but atomic energy is a real thing. The cell phone. Martin Cooper, a developer at Motorola, cited several Star Trek technologies as inspiration for the design of the first mobile phones in the early 1970s. Although clearly they weren't copies of the Star Trek stuff because, I mean, the first mobile phones were huge.
They were. And it's actually kind of crazy to think that, like, someone dreamt up the cell phone in, like, a sci-fi movie decades before we actually, like, started using it on a regular basis in real life. And now it's, like, so integral to our life. You don't really meet someone who doesn't have a cell phone.
Yeah.
And my phone isn't just for calling. It's like I use it all the time. I use it for work all the time.
Yeah, it is crazy if you stop and just think about what happens. I mean, your voice is converted to whatever they convert it to. I mean, I know on a regular phone, it's like a magnet converts it and sends it as an electrical signal across a wire. But this is it's a whole level above that. I mean, it's going to a tower and it's going to a satellite maybe, and
Dumbledore might just say magic. I don't know.
Might just, yeah.
But Spock would not. Spock would know all about it.
Exactly. Spock is the Trekkie techie. And of course, VR tech, the metaverse, space travel, and all kinds of things have been plucked from the pages of fiction and made into real things in the real world via science, aka modern magic.
So whenever I think of that kind of stuff, like the virtual reality type thing, I always think of Star Trek's holodeck. Is that what it's called?
Yeah,
the holodeck. You know, and kind of like, how do they make that happen? Are we on our way there, or are we just gonna like be content with the glasses, do you think?
Well, what do I personally think? The holodeck is actually based on real science because Einstein's, one of his crowning, achievements was the E equals mc squared, which is energy equals matter, I believe it's times the constant of the speed of light squared. So matter and energy are actually interchangeable at some level. So the whole idea behind the holodeck was you could convert energy into these scenes that you could interact with, and they'd be real, but then you can convert the matter in the holodeck back to energy, and it would just be gone.
So just so everyone out there knows, Matt and I did not talk about this in advance. He just had that knowledge in his head someplace.
It's scary in there.
I'm a little bit impressed right now.
No, so all this sounds amazing. Bringing these things into real life, it sounds like something that only people like Elon Musk do. But honestly, we all do it. We all imagine the future and then try to bring our vision of it to life. If we don't have any vision for our future, our life just plods along and ends up looking like pretty much nothing, or like what other people make it in. You kind of just drift along.
That's interesting because like there's research out there that like what you think about is what like kind of you become. There's obviously limits to that, but if you see yourself a certain way, you kind of become that way. There's truth to that, like scientific and medical truth to that. And so it's interesting to think about that from like a visioning your future, inventing your future perspective.
Yeah, and honestly, just knowing you as long as I have, you are definitely a forward thinker. And so for those of us who are a little more dreamy, can you give us some advice about how to think forward about how we want our life to look and try to make that a reality?
Well, I think the dreamy stage is really important, actually. Like, to be honest, the past few years, I haven't really been very much of a forward thinker. I think sometimes in life, like when COVID hits, you just kind of get in this like grind of day to day and you're just managing day to day. And so like thinking about the future isn't even really something you have space, mental, physical, emotional capacity to try to handle. So maybe actually one of the first things is to become a dreamer, to actually make some space for yourself to like envision a better future or invent a future for yourself. A little bit realistic though, like don't invent a Dumbledore.
Yeah.
But
or if you do, pick a better name.
But I think like having some level of realism in it is probably important. But I think having that space to dream a little bit and actually like have a little bit of hope for the future, allow yourself some hope for the future, especially when a lot of people I think are in the same boat right now with COVID and stuff, where you're kind of like just grinding away. Sometimes it's hard to even see the future and be like, what kind of a future would that even be? So making some space for hope for the future is probably one of the first steps.
Yeah, and it's been a time of a lot of disappointments. I mean, people have lost loved ones, had plans go awry, haven't been able to plan vacations or anything really, feel maybe stuck in a career. Now there's inflation. There's just a lot of obstacles right now that people are facing. So that probably is good advice, just to take a step back and look at your life. I know for me, it's more of a learned skill to try to take myself out of the total, like stratosphere and come down a little bit to like dream in a more realistic way.
Yeah, I guess that's probably a good way realistically dream, because you can almost like you can envision like some sort of like magical world for yourself or something like that, but that's a little different I think than actually trying to envision a new or invent a new future for yourself. And then I usually kind of think a couple steps ahead, try to think about like the next thing or what the next thing would be to get there.
And when she says that, she means literally all the time, constantly thinking 3-4 steps ahead.
Which I'm sure is very annoying if you live with me.
It's awesome, once you get used to it after 15 years. Well, I wrote down a few pieces of advice, just because, again, for me, this has been sort of an acquired skill over the years. We've tried to read self-improvement books and psychology books and life books and just try to get as much wisdom as we can and try to learn. And so just a first place to start, this is what I wrote down, is take a serious chunk of time to evaluate your life. Like what are you spending your time on? What's working? What's not? What's giving you life? What's sucking the life out of you? Just kind of figure those things out. Probably get a pen and a notepad or your whatever, your iPhone, just something you can write down your thoughts to get it all out.
Yeah, and I think for me, I'm a person of faith, so I would like pray about it, see what God's showing me when it comes to this, because sometimes we don't even know ourselves as well as we think we know ourselves. And I know God's shown me a lot of things about myself to help with moving forward, so you don't get stuck in ruts and going around in circles.
Yeah, and it's worth taking some real time to do this, whether it's over the course of a week, is every day, or just take like a full afternoon or a whole day if you can, because like Katie said, approach it prayerfully. Take some time to really let your thoughts marinate, because as you process through it, you'll come up with different things. And then the second thing would be just take a chunk of time to do some dreaming. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, getting some hope for the future. Again, if you're a person of faith, you're prayerfully considering this stuff, prayerfully dreaming, because we've got God in the mix.
Yeah. Again, make sure you're writing down your dreams. Write down the things that you would like to do or accomplish or change, just so they're out there, because otherwise you throw them out, but pretty soon you can't remember, 5 things back. So write it down. And then the final thing for today, there's so much you could go into when it comes to this kind of stuff, but the final thing we just would say for today is pick one thing to focus on, and then go back to your list of things that you're doing and you have going on and what all makes up your life, like what you're spending your time on, and think of something to cut out, because if you're going to change something about your life, you're going to have to, change something, right? You're going to have to cut something out to make room for something new to grow and thrive. So if you just did those 3 things, like take stock, do some dreaming, and then pick one thing to focus on, like that would be huge. That could be completely life-changing.
But just don't cut out the nerd trivia that's next week. That's the one thing I would say. Do not cut out that. You can think of some other things, just don't cut out that.
And you probably want to cut out something so you can listen to this podcast regularly. Put it on your calendar.
Probably.
Yeah, most definitely. This is a life-giving podcast. We hope it is. That's our goal. You've just about listened to the end of the show, so I think maybe we should reveal a few things that are in the nerd box. What do you think?
Are you going to actually review them or just give hints? I kind of think maybe you should give some hints about it instead of actually revealing them.
Okay. All right. Oh, hints. Okay. Well, this first thing, it's not very large.
Does it project heat?
It does not.
Oh, well. Then
it's not a space heater. It is. You can hold it in the palm of your hand, and
can you throw it at someone?
Yes.
Would it hurt them?
It potentially could, but it would likely not.
Is it a weapon?
It would not injure them. It is not a weapon.
Okay.
It is not a throwing star, although that would be cool.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Well, too late.
The next item tells a very familiar story for most of us, but in a very unique way, and it's collectible, and you'll want to show it to your friends who come over.
All of your friends? Or just your nerd friends?
You'll want to show it to all your friends, though not all will appreciate it.
Oh, okay. All right.
But it's that cool.
Is it shiny?
It will make your heart shine.
What more could you want?
Not much.
So join the challenge so you can have this mystery box and find out what this stuff actually is.
Yes, and we'll throw a few other items in as well as we get closer. But that is all for tonight. Thanks so much for listening, and we love you. Take care. If you want to reach out and get a hold of us for anything, you can do so at thetelescopeshow.com. There's contact, or you can reach out to the telescope at iCloud.com.
And the sign up for the trivia is on the website. It's also going to be posted to the Facebook page. If you want to join the Facebook page, then make sure and let us know. Just shoot us an email and let us know, and Well,
there's actually a link to the Facebook page on the website.
Well, don't shoot an email. Just then request it from the link on the page.
If you want to join the trivia, make it happen. All right, we are out of here. Take care. Bye-bye.